Hello, welcome to the Security Update with me, Hamse Daabjeerin. In this program, we will be covering for you the latest stories that matter security in the African countries, from West to Horn of Africa. Ahead on the program, Abiy Ahmed urges supporters to stop the Tigray rebels' advance. Al-Shabaab attacks a military base in Puntland. Demonstrators protest French presence in Mali on Bamako streets. Nigerian government releases photos of wanted prisoners. Welcome to our program. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has called on his supporters to stop an advance by Tigrayan rebel forces. The Prime Minister said it was the duty of citizens to block, destroy and parry the forces of TPLF rebels.
እንፈተንም አሸንፈን በደስታና በድል እንገናኛለን። የተከበሩ
Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has called on his supporters to stop an advance by Tigray rebel forces. The Prime Minister said it was a duty of citizens to block, destroy and bury the forces of the TPLF rebels in an appeal on his official Facebook account after the rebels said they had made further territorial gains in the Amhara region, taking them closer to the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. Abiy Ahmed called on his supporters to stop the rebels with any weapon at their disposal. The Ethiopian government has denied assertions by the TPLF rebels that they had seized major areas in Amhara region. Tigray forces have said they will keep fighting until Amhara forces leave the heavily fortified area of Western Tigray and until the government permit the free movement of aid into the rest of Tigray. Communications with the Tigray region are largely blocked and desperately needed aid has not been getting through. The United Nations estimate that 400,000 people in the region are living in famine-like conditions a year after the conflict began.
Al-Shabaab fighters launched an attack on a military base in Puntland state of Somalia. Residents reported the regional forces responded with heavy artillery. This is not the first time the group has attacked a military base in Puntland. Al-Shabaab fighters attacked a military base hosting Puntland forces, sparking a clash between the two sides. Sources said the militants attacked Afurul military base with mortars, prompting Puntland troops to respond with heavy artillery. Residents who witnessed the morning incident reported hearing gunshots from both sides around the station. Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attack, which left the death of 2 soldiers. The regional forces said they repulsed the group and the military base is under their control, but did not give much detail about the consequences of the attack or even the killed fighters from Al-Shabaab. This is not the first time the group has attacked a military base in Puntland. On several occasions, Puntland authorities said they will remove Al-Shabaab from their hideout in their territory, but the group still seems functional and carries out its military operations against Puntland. At least 10 Al-Shabaab members killed an improvised explosive device, plus which they planted on the road. This is not the first time the group has fallen into its own trap, as it has on the same previous occasions been harmed by landmines intended to harm government forces and civilians in areas under its control. According to a resident of Qayad of Mudug region, a landmine explosion killed at least 10 Al-Shabaab fighters after their vehicle ran into an improvised explosive device in an area around Qayad Mudug region, central Somalia. Initial reports revealed the landmine was planted by the group itself as a trap to harm federal government officials, but eventually killed some of the Al-Shabaab commanders, though the group has not yet commented on it. This is not the first time the group has fallen into its own trap, as it has on some previous occasions been harmed by landmines intended to harm government forces and civilians in areas under its control. Many civilians have lost their lives in roadside bombs planted by the group in the southern Mudug region, with one of the worst cases being an improvised explosive device explosion on June 27 in Whistle area that killed more than 30 civilians. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Bamako to demonstrate against the French military presence in Mali, calling for the total withdrawal of French troops from the country.
Mohamed Osman Mohamedan, member of the National Transition Council, said that they are here for Mali. They are also here to demonstrate our national sovereignty, to remind the whole world that sovereignty belongs to the people and that those who have not understood this must get up to speed today. Because the transition for us today is the result of decades of mismanagement, misgovernance of our country, and bad partnerships. A protester said it doesn't matter if France leaves or always stays. The point is that France is not best suited to tell a country on the ground not to call on its friends. There is a tense dispute between Mali and its key military partner France over reports Bamako could recruit Russian mercenaries as Paris reshapes its 5,000-strong counter-terrorism mission in the region. Mali has been trying to contain an Islamic extremist insurgency since 2012. In a military coup last year, Mali has complicated matters further, and the junta's leaders have faced criticism from France and the African Union.
Unidentified gunmen have killed a Somali national in South Africa. According to the witnesses, the assailants have opened fire at the victim before managing to flee from the scene. But we will be back after the short break. Welcome back. Unidentified gunmen have killed a Somali national in South Africa. According to the witnesses, the assailants have opened fire at the victim before managing to flee from the scene. Unidentified gunmen have killed a Somali national in Cape Town in the latest string of attacks against foreigners in South Africa. The victim, who was identified as Abdinasir Mahamoud Abdi, was killed in Michelis Plain of Cape Town. According to witnesses, the assailants have opened fire at the victim before managing to flee from the scene. It is not yet clear the motive behind the attack. The police arrived at the scene but made no arrest. For years, South African police have been accused of being complicit in attacks against immigrants, something that prompted many immigrants, including Somalis, to possess illegal arms in a desperate attempt to defend themselves and their properties against gangs. Dozens of Somalis have been killed in South Africa for the past few years. Many of them have had their prisoners robbed and seriously wounded. The Nigerian army has taken delivery of 60 new armored personnel carriers purchased from China to push the ongoing war insecurity in the West African country.
The Nigerian army has taken delivery of 60 new armored vehicles purchased from China to boost the ongoing war against insecurity in the West African country. Speaking during the commissioning of the new armored tanks at the Nigeria Army School of Infantry, Jaji, Kaduna State, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, said the deployment of new platforms to the battlefield underscores the federal government commitment to ensure that a state of normalcy is achieved across the country. Yahya, who was represented by Major General Victor Ezogu, said the acquisition of the armored tanks is an effort which is in line with the federal government cardinal objectives of tackling the totality of the security challenges facing Nigeria.
The government has supported us by acquiring these APCs. So by the time this goes into the field, definitely the game will change, the tide will change completely. We are more determined now to stamp out totally. So that's the message we are sending, that embrace peace or the tracks of these APCs will roll over you, and they know the meaning.
The The army noted that 106 of its personnel have been given 3-month training on the operation and maintenance of the armored personnel carriers and will be deployed as well. While thanking President Muhammadu Buhari for supporting the armed forces, the Chief of Army Staff said the vehicles would boost the fight against insurgency and banditry in the northeast and northwestern parts of Nigeria. He, however, warned the bandits and other non-state actors to either surrender with their arms or be sent to hell. Lieutenant General Yahya also reiterated the Nigeria's army's commitment in protecting the territorial integrity of the country, adding that this would be achieved in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, partners, and other agencies.
The local residents of Mudug region in Somalia are worried about a new military base established by Al-Shabaab fighters. Residents told the media they are living in fear as Al-Shabaab assault on the town could be imminent. According to residents, Al-Shabaab fighters have set up a base in the outskirts of Wisil town in Mudug region, raising fears the group is planning to capture the town. Residents told the media they are living in fear as Al-Shabaab assault on the town could be imminent. Galmudug and federal forces vacated the area last month in the build-up for the fighting in Gureel with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Al-Shabaab now controls Badwain and Amara towns after it dislodged government forces. In September, local sources said the militant group had built camps in the area after a deadly firefight with Galmudug and federal government forces. Al-Shabaab failed to seize the town after they were pushed back. Nigeria's Ministry of Interior has published the photographs of prison inmates who escaped from the Oyo Custodial Center last week. Some 837 inmates escaped from the facility located in southwestern part of the country.
Nigeria's Ministry of Interior has published the photographs of prison inmates who escaped from the Oyo Custodial Center last week. Some 837 inmates escaped from the facility located in the southwestern part of the country on the 22nd of October, but the Interior Ministry said 262 had been recaptured. The ministry shared the details of the remaining 575 inmates who are still on the run. It advised the public to report to the nearest police station if they came in contact with the inmates, warning that they were dangerous. It was reported earlier that gunmen had stormed the correctional center in Oyo town, freeing inmates after a gun duel with the prison guards. The large number of inmates on the loose, some of them hardened criminals, residents of the town and environs, continue to express their worries as they believed the situation could result in a spike in the rate of criminality. Meanwhile, the federal government said it has begun a manhunt for the 575 prisoners who are currently at large and promised quick apprehension of the gunmen who forced the facility open.
And with that story of the Nigeria's Ministry of Interior publishing the photographs of prison inmates who escaped from the Oyo Custodial Center, we'll wrap up our program for this time. Thank you very much for being with us. This is me, Hamse Daabjeerin.